So would you say genuinely we're a little soft as an industry if you had to take a stand?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially nowadays, because I think our biggest problem is the one thing I think all humanity, unless you're something like a master, has got mental health issues. Not one in four, it's like everybody.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But now with the social media era, we're hearing about lots of crazy ass shit from people and their so-called traumas that no, that's not really a trauma. That's some shit you could work on your own
Mm.
if you fucking didn't want to play the victim role. Whereas there are other people really do need to get to see, like, an appointment with a psychologist, psychiatrist, doctor, whatever, and they can't because the queues are full of wankers that are like,
Talking to this idea of I'm not okay, right? Say for any of us who are working with clients and our clients, because that's who you're speaking to, right? Is like everyone who's watching you now and me, like we've got clients and customers, right? Who often feel like there is some area where they're not okay. How would you suggest we work with that with a client that's like I'm not okay and they're like trying to learn to accept that not okayness? Where do you begin in trying to work with that so that they're not just accepting that they're not okay?
well, I think you acknowledge it to start with
Mm.
and go, yeah, I sympathize, empathize, whatever you want to do. Acknowledge that base and then really establish from them, is that where you want to stay? Do you want to stay in victim mode? Because you can stay there and there are lots of benefits there. You don't have to take
Right.
responsibility, you can get sympathy, you can use it as your get out of jail card for shit you don't want to do. That really could work for you. If that's where you want to stay, and we can work through that and get smooth off some of the edges so it's not quite so painful. But what wouldn't you like to be okay? Wouldn't you like to be better?
Mm.
Just don't stay there. And that's why the title is. Because there are books and t-shirts, everything. It's okay to be not okay. And then it's just that's the, I can't think of the word, not threshold, not the plateau. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but baseline
Yeah.
of where you're at is not okay.
And I think I wonder how much also what you're talking to with the not being okay, being perpetually not okay. What I've seen and heard from my clients and their horror stories with their clients is that it can begin this perpetual healing cycle, right?
Mm.
Where it's just like, well, if I'm not okay, I've got to go in search of something to heal that, and it's almost like, well, you never quite find the full healing. It's never quite over. It's like, well, I'm constantly healing, and I sometimes think that, to your point, perpetuates the I'm not okay, but I'm on a journey. It's like this sort of I'm on a journey.
Yeah, and I don't think that many people know where they want to go anyway. What okay looks like, even.
Oh, that's a great point. Like we haven't defined okay well. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. What are the symptoms of okay? I'm literally writing this down on my phone because I'm so inspired by what you're saying. Um, and like defining them so that we know when we spot them. Like you can know when you start to have them, rather than I feel like we're always looking for the negative symptoms. Oh, I got a bad thought then, or that thing bothered me. That feels like that's all we're talking about.
And also we have that kind of a fantasy version of what okay looks like that's probably never going to appear.
Lamborghini, seven figures, swimming pool. It reminds me of
Long
something, actually.
hair.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. I remember 2 houses ago from where I'm talking to you now. 2 houses ago, um, we had a house with a pool, and I remember the whole fantasy came true. It was like, oh my god, I've got a house with the pool and everything. And the funny thing was, to your point about fantastical okayness, was it was a nightmare. It's a fucking nightmare. Like having a pool is not. It's like you're doing so much work for a few days, the way I described it to a friend who was thinking of getting buying a place with a pool, I said, you are working so hard to make the water toxic enough that nothing can live in it, but not too toxic that you die in it, like when you get in. But it's such a looking after a pool, it would be like something I would never want to do again. It was just, there was maths involved, you had to be like a chemistry teacher, and I like that, to the point that like we do kind of borrow what okayness looks like. There's fantasy okay, it's like okay, it's all this and this and this, rather than
what are you saying? I worked as a pool lifeguard.
did you?
And in a public bath, it kills everything and removes just enough urine.
Yeah 100%. We don't want anything biological to be able to survive in this, except let the humans, as long as they're in it for less than an hour, they'll be okay. Yeah, man, it's crazy. And we don't define, I think we take so little time to define okay in reality for ourselves. What does that look like in reality? And so then if
More miracles, to the sense that life is always going to be a bed of roses. The okay means you'll never get pissed off, that you'll never feel down, that nothing will upset you. That's just a fantasy, unless you really are dedicated to some spiritual path and enlightenment and going to get there, which most people aren't going to. Even those that think they're dedicated to it aren't going to get there. We can't expect life to always be nice and nothing's going to upset us, but we can either react to what's going on, which is that kind of instinctual, more animalistic, what we see in the world, road rage type event, or we respond, which is more using like your neocortex, more civilized human, where you go, yes, that person cut me up, and if it had been 2 seconds sooner, they could have killed me.
Yeah.
Justifiable rage. But civilized human, no, they didn't. They missed. So it was a close call. Nothing has actually fucking happened.
Yeah, move on.
Move on.
Yeah.